Hiring is the least favorite thing every manager wants to do. However, we all have to do it. But we have to deal with the struggles of, do I use a recruiter? Do I not use a recruiter? Do I try to source them myself? Do I outsource and try to get somebody from a firm, from an agency, international resources, local resources? There's so much you have to deal with just to find the candidates. Hello, my name is Daniel Hindi, and I too find hiring the second worst thing that I have to do as a leader, manager, and business owner. It only comes second to firing. So I'd rather get the hiring right so I can avoid firing. Now, I've built many startups, and I know what it feels like to be strapped on resources. It feels like you're constantly trying to get the budget to hire more resources, and it's a constant no, later, and then you finally get it, and you're in a rush to hire. And if you don't find a good candidate within a reasonable time frame, you feel like you end up settling. Now, one of the first questions you ask yourself is, should I just go to a recruiter and be done with it? Well, there's some good recruiters and there's some bad recruiters. There's some recruiters that just give you a pile of resumes and you have to sift through it. It feels like they're just going and picking out anybody who has a few keywords and throwing them on your desk and then asking for 18 to 35% of their annual salary, which is a significant amount of money. If you are going to use recruiters, make sure that they do as much of the screening for you as possible, where you give them a persona, a profile of the perfect person, and if you can't come up with that document, you can go to LinkedIn and find the perfect candidate that exists out there, whether they're in the job market or not. Give that to the recruiter and say, I want somebody like that person, so at least they have somebody to anchor off of, that they know, are they close, are they similar to this particular person's profile, and have them filter out as much as possible so you only deal with valid candidates. Otherwise, you could just go to LinkedIn and do it yourself, which is an option. You can go to LinkedIn, you can put your posts on Monster, on Dice, Indeed, whatever website that is now trendy. Either way, you need to come up with a comprehensive job description, and not just any job description. Don't copy it from somebody else that's out there. Really identify the needs that you have. I've seen job descriptions that have everything under the sun for this one candidate. For example, if you wanted a developer, for some reason you want them to code in every single language out there. Why would you want that? Are you coding in every single language out there? Why would you do that? Then make sure you put together proper screening questions that are knockout questions immediately. You know, if they don't answer correctly to these questions, don't waste their time, don't waste your time, and just screen them out. Whether you're giving those questions to the recruiter or you're doing it yourself. So it's an easy filter for you to whittle down that list. Now here's a technique I use. Remember how I said it seems like you're always asking for more resources, and then when you finally get the budget, you scramble? Well, the technique I use is I'm always hiring, whether I have the budget or not. I have a job posting up for key positions in the company, and I'm constantly collecting resumes, whether you have an open position or not. Because guess what? Sometimes you're increasing resources, and sometimes you're replacing. If somebody quit, you need to scramble immediately to find another. When you have a stack of resumes ready to go, it makes life a lot easier. Now, sometimes there's a serendipitous match where somebody just lands on your doorstep who's a perfect candidate, somebody you've always wanted. And sometimes you will open up a position because you found a superstar and you want him on your team. Now, because I have this job position constantly open, I set aside just a minimal amount of time every month to interview these candidates. And I may delegate that out to somebody on my team, a manager, and so on. And it helps you gauge the candidates that are in the market now versus the employees you have today. And the employees themselves get to gauge, hey, these people are coming in, they're actually more skilled than me. Maybe I should shape up a little bit. So it's really important when you observe these ad hoc interviews that you also observe your employees interviewing to see how they gauge against the potential candidates in the market. It acts like a really good barometer between your employees and the talent pool that exists. Now, when you do have an open position and you're going a little bit more aggressively in the interview process, now hopefully you already screened out people who are obviously bad matches and you're only interviewing people who have the potential to actually land this job. You want to make sure that you have a scorecard for every single candidate. A scorecard is just a list of questions that have a measurement of your confidence level against certain questions on their soft skills and on their hard skills, and then your overall confidence if this person can actually fulfill on this position. This helps you eliminate any emotional driven decision making when you look at somebody and say, oh, you know what, they're not really that good, they're not a good match, but I really like this person, I want them on my team, versus somebody who is actually technically sound and can do the job well for you. And if you have multiple people in the room interviewing this person, you all put down your separate scorecards and then compare them at the end of the interview to see how far off they were. And if somebody really said amongst your team, this is a bad match, usually that's a deal breaker. If you have somebody that you respect enough to be part of the interview process and they say this is a bad match, usually everybody has to be on board or just don't hire this person. Now, anytime you're hiring, there's always the urge to say, can I outsource this position? Can I get somebody who's more affordable, especially here in the United States? Salaries can get pretty hefty. And you may weigh out, I can get 2, 3, maybe even 4 outsourced resources compared to somebody locally. Now, there are other hidden costs when you outsource. There is something to be said about somebody being in the same office, listening in to the energy and the communication that's happening constantly in the office. They're usually more in sync with your mission and vision. Not to say that I'm against outsourcing. Anybody who's seen my videos and knows me knows I like something called the golden ratio. This is based on the Fibonacci sequence. 1 plus 2 equals 3, 3 plus 2 equals 5, 5 plus 3 equals 8, and so on. And basically, if I have one developer here locally, I like to outsource. If I have 2 locally, then I'd like 3 outsource. If I have 3 locally, 5 outsource, and so on. Where I have a lot of the decision-making local and a lot of the actual execution remote. Now, this isn't an exact science. This is just a ratio that I strive to always maintain, and sometimes I maintain it and sometimes a little bit off, but generally is a good gauge and measure of what I think is a correct balance. It gives you the best of both worlds. Now, 2 requirements I always have whenever I'm dealing with an outsourced team member. Outside of obviously having the skill set to be able to do the job, they need to be able to speak English or the mother tongue of your home office fluently so that there's nothing lost in translation. And number 2, they need to be able to have at least a 5-hour overlap with headquarters. If that means they need to work nights, then they need to work nights. If not, you're losing so many days and cycles lost to communication lag. Now, another way you could outsource is through agencies or partners. Now, these are companies who have resources of themselves that sell their services to other companies in need. Now, this is obviously more expensive because there's higher overhead. However, you don't have to deal with any of the HR issues, a lot of the tax and paperwork issues that you have to deal with. You're just dealing with them as a vendor where they're meant to supply you with a service. And if there's a particular resource there that's not working, they can swap them out because it's their problem, not yours. If they want to continue doing business with you, they need to make sure that they operate at the bar you set. Now, sometimes you seek out partners because you're looking to endeavor into a new portion of the business that isn't really your core offering, isn't your core expertise. So, for example, if you have a website for your customers and you're servicing a particular product and you need to go mobile, mobile may not be your thing. You may seek out a partner to engage them in a limited capacity so that they just deal with your mobile offering. For example, that's what we do at my company, BuildFire. Now, what we do there is we deal with mobile apps. There are many startups, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies who reach out to us who say, you know what, I do have engineers, but we deal more with hardware. Or I do have a budget, but it's allocated more for marketing. Or I do have software developers, they're just too busy dealing with whatever we do normally. Could you take over our mobile offering? And we partner up with them to alleviate that burden from their current team so that they can stay focused on whatever they're doing and we supplement and complement their offering. So make sure whenever you're looking for an agency that you look for a partner to your business. Now, whenever you're hiring a highly skilled individual, you have to ask yourself, do I want a generalist or a specialist? Now, you're going to get 2 different opinions on this, and they're generally strong opinions. Here's my opinion on the matter. It depends. If you're a smaller company and you don't have the resources to hire 3, 4 specialists, you need a generalist. You need somebody who can get the job done, maybe not as good as a specialist would, but can wear multiple hats and that you don't need to hire another individual because this person doesn't have a particular skill set or isn't willing to learn it. A generalist will cover a wide range of skill sets that your company may need at a good enough level. Now, as your company ranks up, as it grows, as you have more resources and more budget at hand, that's where you slowly shift towards specialists. Now, once you have a specialist, they're going to do one thing and one thing really well, but they're dedicated to that one thing to do really well. And personally, when my companies grow, I always have a mixture of both, specialists and generalists. Sometimes you get an oddball task that comes your way that you need a generalist to just figure it out and get it done. And sometimes you need to operate at a level where you need to make sure you have the competitive edge that you need a specialist to take you to that next level. Now, like I said, this is a wide topic. I'm going to have future episodes talking about how to hire somebody technical when you're not technical yourself, how to rank up your team from B players to A players, and make sure that they get proper feedback, how to manage your team, and in the unfortunate case, how to fire somebody on your team. So make sure you like and subscribe so you're notified when I release these videos. Last but not least, if you have an interview story that just went crazy, just sideways, bizarre, leave it in the comments below. I love to hear those stories. Until next time, I hope this video gave you clear and logical steps on how to source your candidates.